Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Couple of reviews for continuing on tonight. There's this movie that I saw somebody reviewing, and Media Assault. It's basically you Movie Assault. He's got two channels. So Sean from Movie Assault basically reviewed this movie. I had heard of it, of course, because it is a little bit of an iconic film, if I'm not mistaken, especially for that particular era. It is from 1955. It's called It Came From Beneath the Sea, and it's about this radioactively enhanced, increased monstrous octopus. Yeah, so like I said, I've heard of this before, but saw his review, and I thought this is something which I should try and watch. It took me a couple of attempts to actually watch it. I wouldn't say it's not a bad film. It's a little bit of a drag, and I think the pacing is the problem because a lot of it is them doing the testing and the studying, and I can't really say much for the acting. I don't really know these actors. You have as the main cast being, I mean, Kenneth Toby. I think I've heard this name before, but can't be sure. As Commander Pete Matthews, Faith Domergue as Professor Leslie Joyce, who plays the main female lead. Donald Curtis as Dr. John Carter. Ian Keith as Admiral Burns, and I do not know any of these people. Um, so basically, it's these two scientists who are trying to test and see what this creature is all about and how to possibly find a weapon against it. Um, this, like I said, this came out in 1955. I think this is mainly um, an inspired from the nuclear war threat that was prevalent at that time in the 50s and the 60s, I guess, possibly even down to the 70s. And because of a lot of testing that happened, um, the excuse me, nuclear testing happening in the South Pacific, it affected the octopus who grew up in size and became radioactive, starts attacking submarines and ships, and so they basically have to try and fight it off. That's the whole movie. They just need to test it, see what's happening, and all those things. But they kind of dragged it quite a bit. Of course, you can't really expect them to focus on the creature that much because it doesn't look like a monster, doesn't look real, doesn't look threatening for by today's standards. I suppose in 1955 they would have definitely been um, astonished to see a creature of this size brought to life in on the silver screen and on television screens. But yeah, so I can appreciate it for what it was, in its point in time. So I'm trying to. I think I've reached this age, especially once I hit my 40s. I want to watch more movies from really good movies. I want to specify from the from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, and possibly even some from the 70s, which I would have not really been interested um, for the most part a few years ago. And I guess it's just that, you know, as time marches on and I also start getting old, I have more of an appreciation for movies from the 70s and the 80s because that's the era that, I was a kid. I was born in 1976. So it's the era that I grew up watching a lot on television reruns, um, and cable and all that stuff. So it definitely has given me an appreciation as I've grown older to start watching movies from the 50s and the 60s and even the 30s and the 40s, so that I can see how good were these movies and appreciate them for the fact that at that particular point in time they were iconic, they were standout, and possibly even groundbreaking in some of these cases. So that basically is all I wanted to talk about this particular film. It is kind of dragging in places. I wasn't completely, entrenched in completely focused on watching it out on the screen. I kept on. I was watching it, I think, in the afternoon or maybe in the night, and I was on my phone a little bit. I watched this movie about a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, basically it's an okay watch. I don't really think I might sit down and watch this movie again. Possibly another 10 years from now. I don't know, but yeah. It's an okay film, something from 1955. Let's appreciate it for what it is. However, there are movies from that era which have still aged. Excuse me, a lot better. It's getting a little late. Do have one more review to get to. So this is pretty short. I would give this film a 6 out of 10. Thank you.